Hiya everybody. Sorry it's been a while. Right. Gessoed the page and then splosh some acrylic down, yellow and red, to make oranges and everything in between. Pardon? And then I splosh some Indian ink around in reds, oranges, and I think magenta. Sort of splashed it and flicked it and blodged it and just tried to make lumps of colour. And then I stared at it for ages until I saw flowers. That one at the top really stuck out, and then there's like a tubular one that sticks out a bit further down. And instead of using just normal the glue that Cat Hand used, because I don't really have any that's waterproof once it's dry, I used Mod Podge, shiny glossy Mod Podge, and then I put on watered down green acrylics, just normal craft paint, and then rubbed it back with, once it had dried a bit, rubbed it back with a dampened baby wipe, and didn't want to do it too thick green because I wanted bits of colour just to show through. You'll see why in a bit. Did the sky white, bit more, gesso, and then did a bit of blue, and then dragged the blue just down the edges just to darken the green round the outer edges. Yes, that's the glue relief, and then here comes the first bit of tissue that I did. I stuck it down with matte medium. What I did is I wet my brush and cut out raggedy cloud shapes of similar lengths but not similar thicknesses, heights if you will, and put them on so it looked like clouds, so it was thicker in places and thinner in other places because I just stuck them on top, on top, on top. This is just a scrap piece of paper that I'm sketching a house out on, and then I cut it out. I'm going through my selection of painty papers that I just wipe my brush off while I'm painting things. I just wipe my brush off on. I think this were a bit of a jelly print wipe off, and excess off stencils and stuff. So I selected my papers, then I started cutting the house up into its separate bits, or partly up into its separate bits. Then I could use the outlines that I'd created on it, like that there, where it's got like a little balcony thing, and that's for the corner of the house, and the blue one's going to end up being the roof, yellow the trim. So I used the paper template in that way to do that, and then assembled it off page, did the windows and things, but all it is cutting out, so we thought pointless leaving it in basically, because it's just more of the same. Here I'm sticking it together using matte medium again, and that, I think I stick it down with matte medium as well. Now I'm sticking all windows and doors on, just sort of putting them not quite straight, sort of straight-ish, but a little bit wonky. And I do that with shadows as well. I'm just deciding exactly where I want it to go and gluing it down. You can see I've done 3 clouds. Bit of watered down black India ink to do the start of the shadows, just to let me know where they're going and which side light's coming from. Yeah, it's still black Indian ink, and then I use magenta India ink and I think a greeny sort of blue, like a turquoisey colour on the roof as a wash. But I'm carrying on with shadows with the magenta. I think I used a bit of orange as well for the yellow. Here I'm using pigment pens. I really, really like these pens. I wish the pink one would work. I had to use the purple one for the pink bits. White Stabilo all pencil for the highlights. Again, everything's a little not quite right, a bit wonky and whimsical, but I really, really enjoyed doing this one. I really enjoyed it, especially the flowers. I wish I hadn't done so many flowers, but how many flowers were there? There's over 60, isn't there? Over 60 flowers, and it's just crackers. Anyway, yeah, using them pigment pens again, pigment ink pens. You can, as long as they're not on a super absorbent like raw paper, you can, after like half an hour, if you haven't hit them with heat tool, you can get rid of them again with a bit of water. They sort of wash off, but once they dry, they're permanent. I enjoy playing with them. Just sketching around some of the flowers, just to reinforce the lines on them. How I'd seen them. That's the tube one that really stuck out to me, because it took me a long time doing them, so I wanted to make sure I could tell where they were. I used Inktense pencils and Neocolor 2s fixed with matte medium, liquid matte medium, Liquitex matte medium. And I think maybe a little bit of India ink on the flowers, but mainly the Neo 2 pencils. Apart from this one, I used a lot of Inktense on that flower. Right, that's just a little tiny tub that I've got with some watered down white acrylic in, just to put highlights in place. Or I might have used watered down white acrylic on some flowers as well with the Neo 2s, but it sort of makes it, instead of making it light red, it makes it pink. It makes it more pastel. Thank you, pastel, that's the right word, isn't it? And sometimes it looked good pastel, sometimes it didn't, but they were all there, but a bit hard to see. But obviously you can see them a lot better now. I'm just prattling. Yeah, they were a challenge with flowers, but I really did enjoy them, and I learned a lot as well. Trying to get the sun all to one side and all the shadows in the right place. Obviously they're all out my head. Fantasy sort of flowers. I really did enjoy doing them. Oh, and the bit on the flower that's nearest the door, the big round one, there's a little lizard on top of there that I put on because Mick was in America. You can see him there. Mick was in America, and I remembered that when I went to America quite a few years ago, there were these little lizards in the bushes, and every time I saw one, it stuck its they've got like a, what do you call it, under the chin, like a wattle, like a wattle thing under the chin, and it kept sticking its wattle out at me. I don't know what it thought it were doing, but quite a few of them do it to me, didn't they? Happen they fancy me. my lizard girl. Yeah, I stuck a few flowers. There's that one there, that yellow one sticking up, out over the green, just to sort of drag them up into the sky a bit. but with the bits of colour showing through, it looks like you're laid on your tummy in a garden planted up wild style, if you know what I mean. No flower beds, just flowers wherever they end up. Or this is where my camera went all blurry. But like you're down at ground level sort of thing, and you can see flowers poking through the greenery. That's why I wanted some of the flower colours to show through the green. Right, here what I'd done is I cut out a load of leaves with a dye with tissue paper, the same tissue that I used in the clouds. It's a really cheap, nasty thing. You wouldn't use it for printing on because it doesn't exactly disappear when you glue it down. It leaves like a white behind. It's not good stuff at all. But I dyed it. If you go and see me tie-dye effect Sharpie, that's how I did them leaves, the tissue leaves, not these. Well, no, I did them as well, them that's over the lizard. I'll explain that in a minute. I'm just putting in a stone step and a gravel path. Started shivering again. That's all with neo-coloured twos as well, mainly from bar a bit of outlining. And I think did I use a Posca pen on? No, I didn't. I don't know. No, I don't think I did. Right, what are we up to now? Right, I'm tracing the lizard's backbone and its leg, so I've got something to line it back up, and then I put pencil on the back of it. Now I'm putting the leaves on exactly where I want them, coming out. Well, they're going to be coming out from behind the lizard. And then I lined, sorry about my camera, I lined the paper back up over it, then drew back over my outline, and it left the mark of its backbone on the leaf, so I knew where to cut the leaves. I hope you can tell what I mean by that, but if rewind it and look at it slower, you'll see what I mean. Right, these are more of those that I did tie-dyed with out of tissue, and basically I just concertinaed the paper up and cut them out and dyed them still stuck together, so there were different degrees of dyedness. And when you stick them down, because they're dark in some places they're darker on the edges, and it makes them look at different directions, and I don't know how to explain it right, but it just adds a really interesting sort of leafy effect, as you can see there. Some of them I cut them in heart shapes. I cut the top out so it was like a heart shape, but it just gives the impression of bits of leaves without it being too much, like the ones sticking out of that one's back. Why does it look all weird there? Is it just texture of paint, Meg? Glue underneath. Right, just a quick thing. Somebody asked me to start a, what's it called, Meg? Amazon wish list, because they don't do art, but they like watching art, so they don't have painted papers and stuff like that, but they wanted to treat me to something, so Mick set it up for me, and I've been acting like I've got all the money in the world and picking out all sorts. I mean, things from like under £1 to crazy stuff like sets of pens and stuff. But I just thought I'd let you know that it's there, and you're going to put a link in under the video. For the lady who asked me to do it. and it's sort of a good thing anyway, because hint hint Michael, you know, sort of things that I want, but you do anyway, don't you? But it's a good hint to family members and stuff like that, you know, people who know me but don't really know what I've got and what I want. But anyway, it's there, and I just thought I'd let the person know, and anybody else, you know. It feels a bit weird, but I've known other people do it. I've seen other people doing it and whatnot. So, whatnot. Yeah, I keep saying whatnot and Right, I hope you're all well, and I'm sorry I've not answered any of my questions. Sorry, not questions, comments, but the app that on my device that I use changed. I didn't know how to do it. They've changed how I answer comments, what buttons I have to press, and Mick had to show me, and he's been away and stuff, but I'll get round to it. So I hope you're all well. Give me a thumbs up, please. Can somebody share it on Cat Hands Facebook? I'm not on Facebook. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not.